following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
The Nostalgia Funhouse proudly dedicates all episodes in the loving memory of Connie Chirac. So, Johnny, I've been hearing really great things about this Nostalgia Funhouse. It just brings back so many great memories.
Andrew, the only reason I'm even in line with you here is that you really vouch for this show. So I'm just going to believe you that this is the show that, I've been wanting, which is just talking about all the fun stuff from our yesteryear and the years before. And I really hate anything meta. So I'm glad that what we're doing right now is not that.
Oh, no, definitely. What is meta? Isn't that Ron Artest's new name?
Well, add world and peace to it, sure.
Yeah, but this is great. They last year they were tearing play sets and Halloween costumes.
Well, that sounds cool.
They get these weird court recordings from pop culture courts.
Does anybody care about court cases?
These ones are kind of cool. They put Scott Kelvin on trial. Poor old Santa Claus there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. You know what's the best part about this is though? Is I hear they always got a really great sponsor. You can check it out right there.
New York, the Big Apple. Hey, you guys think you got game? You got nothing. Home of the #1 world champion. Biggest and the baddest police. You ain't got nothing. You call that a squeegee? You call that a kiss? I'm gonna be late. Get a hotel room.
Ever wonder why New Yorkers have such big mouths?
You got nothing.
Because we eat big pizza, like the big New Yorker from Pizza Hut. 16 inches of real New York pizza dripping with cheese at a very un-New York price.
$9.99. What do you think this is? Indiana?
The big New Yorker, new from Pizza Hut. It's beautiful.
Welcome to the Nostalgia Funhouse. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Johnny Townsend, and he's Andrew Lentz. And real quick, I just wanted to say that this episode is brought to you by Pizza Hut and the New Yorker Pizza. That's right. They're bringing back Andrew the New Yorker Pizza.
Do you know why they're probably doing that?
Why is that?
It's funny because part-time job at the good old Domino's there.
Oh,
Domino's has the Brooklyn style pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's like
you got New York over here. This is my New York accent.
Oh.
New York over here. And then over there, you got the Brooklyn versus New York.
I used to love that.
Forget about, I don't know why mine's.
I used to love the New York accent until I moved to Texas. And people are like, where are you from? And at first I made the mistake of saying New York. And they're like, oh, say walk or water. I'm like, walk, water. They're like, say coffee. Like coffee.
Oh, do I say those words different? Coffee, walk, water.
No, it's just because of water. I'm walking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm walking over here. So you hang out.
But you don't notice.
So
I mean, that's the thing,
from
though.
Western New York.
Yeah.
I think it's you just know the difference now because you listen to us complain about New York City. So that's one of my things.
Well, I mean, you don't notice your own accent really, because I don't even think I have one until other people are like, yeah, you're very Southern, my friend.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But I don't notice it. I think I'm the least Southern sounding of all my Southern friends. Do I sound as Southern as Trevor does on Richard Bliss?
I'm thinking about that now because that's the only Southern friend that
I feel like Trevor sounds way more Southern than me, but I may be.
His wife sounds very Southern. Like I've seen the videos where she's trying to get his son to say things, and she sounds very Southern. Like I'm waiting for like a pie to be made, not to.
She's a really great cook and baker.
Once again, I don't want to be that guy, but are you?
Hey, that's a great stereotype. You ask me. If you can make a good pie, bless you.
You know what? I think he does. I've done podcasts with him, just me and him. I think he does sound a tad bit more Southern than you.
Yes, it's probably much closer than I think, but
it's close, but I think there's certain words that he says that are a little bit more Southern than you.
Yeah. Now just say y'all a lot. I've always said y'all, but
that's I noticed no matter if you have an accent or not, if you're down south, that's how people know that I'm not from the South when I start going with the you guys. and I like I like pop.
Yeah. See, I'll teach you, Andrew.
Yes.
That'll be your benefit of my friendship.
Would I talk to the sir and ma'am? That wasn't too bad of a thing because the military, but the other thing is I notice when a child talks to an adult in New York, if you're very comfortable with that person, you just call them by their first name. Like my mom's best friend, I just refer to as Joellen.
Yeah.
If I lived here at that, when I was growing up, I would have called her Miss Joellen.
Yes.
Notice
Yeah.
that. Those are the differences.
That is a thing. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
But
So they're bringing
let's
back
go
the
to
New.
another guy that has an accent in a way.
Well, let's talk about this Big New Yorker real quick. This is
Oh.
very important to me. This was my favorite pizza when I was growing up. My family was very much a let's go to. This is back when you can actually eat inside a Pizza Hut. We were very much for that. We would go inside to give you those really, for me, iconic red cups. And they did this called the Big New Yorker Pizza, and I loved this thing. So I'm gonna have to get one of these 6 extra large slices of the Big New Yorker Pizza. So make sure you check it out. It's back for the first time in a long time. Thank you for sponsoring us, even though they're not really sponsoring us.
I'm gonna find a Big New Yorker commercial.
But that's not their main topic today. In fact, we're talking about something I would say equally as incredible as the Big New Yorker Pizza. I dare say even bigger. We're going to talk about Mr. Bean.
I love Mr. Bean since the first time. I talked about this before, like when we talk about Ninja Turtle. I know you're not allowed to talk about Ninja Turtles, but but from
you got to get us review bombed, Andrew.
Check out Retro Bliss if you don't get the joke. That there's not many times where you can remember watching something for the first time, but Ninja Turtles and Mr. Bean, I can remember watching it for the first time because it was HBO. We weren't supposed to have HBO, but we got it for free, and it wasn't like a free weekend. Like the guy just gave it to us.
Oh, so you got it for free? Wink.
No, like the cable guy set it up.
Yeah.
Like my aunt was babysitting us, and she was there because obviously we needed a babysitter, and my mom had to work.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to wait for the cable guy. And at this point, my aunt just kind of like went through life. She's my youngest aunt. She's only 13 years older than me. So it was more of a big sister thing. So she was there. And obviously this guy thought she looked good. And what do you know? For our whole entire time living on Willow Avenue, we had HBO and did not pay a dime.
That's what I'm talking about. Good old HBO.
I got to watch the Buster Douglas fight as a kid, or between Mike Tyson, and there you go, Mr. Bean.
Yeah, so, my first discovery of Rowan Atkinson / Mr. Bean was, and you can actually I was watching it before we started recording today, and it still holds up. It's still incredibly funny. He did this one-man show.
Oh, yes.
Well, it wasn't really a one-man show because his buddy would help, but he was the main one. And it was a stage show. It was like comedy skits, I guess would be the best way to put it. And this was shown on Comedy Central. And I was big into Comedy Central when I was like late teen, early 20s, because that's when they would show a lot of stand-up during that time. And one of the specials was this Mr. Bean Live. It was called Rowan Atkinson Live. And that was my first experience of that, because there's a lot of Mr. Bean here in this live show. But I encourage you to look this up. It's the full thing's on YouTube. It's really, really funny. It's called Rowan Atkinson Live. Famously, the first sketch is where he's playing Satan and he's welcoming everybody to hell. It's really, really funny. But that led me down this road of what other stuff does this guy do? And of course, the first thing I find is Mr. Bean. And I immediately was like, this is one of the greatest things I have ever seen, this Mr. Bean. And which is wild because in the aspect of it, there's not a lot of Mr. Bean. The show itself, there's not very many episodes.
No.
I think there's like 13 or something like that tops.
Yeah.
There's 2 movies, and he's appeared in do you see the M&M commercial? There's an M&M commercial with him.
No.
Yeah, there's an M&M Mr. Bean commercial. This is back when the M&Ms they had their characters. Of course, they don't do that anymore. But that's a pretty great one. He becomes this belovable character, and we're going to get into the creation and everything in Mr. Bean. But I'm with you, Andrew. This is one of my all-time just favorite things, and because of the way the comedy is, it's going to hold up for a long time. And it's one of my prized Funko Pops. It's my Mr. Bean Funko Pop. I'll never sell that thing.
It's one of those things, simple, beautiful, funny. Everything about Mr. Bean is hilarious from each one of his episodes. Even I didn't realize there was only 13.
14. There's 14.
Oh, okay. I just watched a couple, but it's just great, simple physical comedy that you literally have to watch. And if you're not watching it, you lose the whole joke in a way.
Yeah, and it's a master class in not only physical comedy, but like Jim Varney would be another one I would throw in here.
Yeah.
But facial physical comedy as well. Like the way he's able to kind of just do over the top expressions with his facial movements and stuff that he can do with his face. Like he could legit wiggle his ears. He could legit do that. Like it just adds to the comedy here. And it's all ages comedy. All ages. You can watch this and just laugh your butt off.
It is just the best that I've ever seen. Oh, it just started airing on HBO in 1992. Yeah, that was about the time. But there's just so many fun sketches and everything else, and the way that he does it, and the character of Mr. Bean, this adult man child that seems very selfish about things in every aspect of his life. Like when he goes to park at the one point, there's a running gag in every episode when he drives that he knocks over that 3-wheeled car.
Yes, there's this 3-wheeled car. It's a very famous British car that's 3 wheels. But I would also argue the Mr. Bean car is also equally even more. It's for me, it's an iconic vehicle.
1977 British Leland Mini 1000 Mark IV. That's his car.
So before we get into Mr. Bean, I think we should bring up Rowan Atkinson himself, the Mr. Bean. What is wild is if you only know him for Mr. Bean, you wouldn't know the fact that he is incredibly smart. He went to Oxford. That was the school he went to, and that's actually where he created Mr. Bean, was at Oxford. And he loves comedy. He always loved comedy, and his influences for Mr. Bean is was a lot of physical comedy actors. There's this French actor, I'm going to mispronounce this, Jacques Tati or something like that. I saw some of his physical comedy. You can see a lot of influence there. Also, obviously, the Pink Panther movies with what's that guy's
Peter
name?
Sellers.
Peter Sellers, yes. You can tell these are high, really well done physical comedy movies.
That's funny because I didn't realize that until he actually has a Pink Panther figure in his very first episode.
He does, yes.
He pulls it out
with the legs with its tail between his legs, so it looks like a
And when he was talking about this too, as well, is that everything's shot wide. If you ever notice, Mr. Bean's never really close up because he learned from these people that comedy is shot wide. Comedy is funny far away. When you get close up, that's when the drama comes in, and not so much comedy. And also, I didn't realize this as well, is learning from that French comedian, French actor, is he said that comedy also begins with the leg. And if you watch a lot of guys, that's where stuff starts. They get a little wobbly, the way that they walk.
Well, you need them for stand-up comedy.
Yeah. But just the way that they walk, like everybody's got their own little way. Like Ernest kind of has, like when he walks, he's got his facial expression looks determined, but his walk also looks very determined at spots. So I think that's what made Mr. Bean so great as well, is just the wobbliness and the facial expression.
Yeah, you can tell that Rowan Atkinson is really studied. He loves comedy, really studies it. You can definitely tell it. And one of the stories that I really liked was when he was really he develops his character with one of his buddies that he went to Oxford with, and that's the other guy you've seen a lot of his sketches. That's kind of his partner in crime here. And the first real show that he did, he wanted to do it to see if it would go across all audiences, because if you watch Mr. Bean, there's very little dialogue in it, especially from Mr. Bean himself. He doesn't talk very much. It's way more of the physical stuff that he's doing. And he did a show in front of in front of a group of French people, just people who didn't speak English. and he got all kinds of laughs. And he's like, "Oh, this works." And that's why Mr. Bean's been shown in like over 200 plus countries, because it's, first of all, it's mostly harmless. And second of all, it's physical comedy that anybody can get, and it doesn't matter what language you speak.
And it's like you said, it's funny, safe, physical comedy as well. And then he was also almost named Mr. White because
They went through a couple of different names, yeah,
before
before
they
they
didn't have
landed
a
on
name
Mr.
for
Bean.
this character that didn't talk really or do anything too much.
Mr. Bean just feels like the perfect name.
It really does. Mr. Name is Bean. That was probably the greatest.
That's not too bad. That's pretty good, Andrew.
That's probably the greatest thing. And the sad thing is my friend and I, we used to quote him. My friend's favorite line that Mr. Bean ever said was the one episode where his girlfriend, that's another great kind of iconic character in there too, is that he has this girlfriend that he just, once again, he's a selfish guy, but she buys him, it's the Christmas one, and she buys him like the model ship, and he opens up the box. And my friend, to this day, I can still hear him say it. He goes, I love it when he opens up the box and he goes, look at all the bits and pieces. And because that's a classic one where it comes into physical comedy. It just misinterpreting things in comedy as well. Because in that one, his girlfriend sees this poster. Giving this girl a ring.
Yes.
She's looking at it.
So it's obviously she's making a big hit. Hey, I would love this ring.
Yes. So
but that is not how Mr. Bean interprets things.
No. So what does he do? He buys her the poster and doesn't understand why she's upset.
Yeah, he thought he was doing a great thing. Yeah. But I also love, I can't remember if it's also the Christmas one where he's having, no, it's the New Year's one, where he's having friends over for a New Year's Eve party. And it's just like going to be 3 people tops. But like he runs out, but he didn't prepare for it whatsoever, and he doesn't have enough snacks, so he just pulls in a tree branch and cuts off pieces of a tree branch to make it look like it's little pretzel sticks.
But that's the stuff that he does. Like, even the very first one just sets it up perfectly. He's going in for some math exam, and he talks a little bit more in this one. The guy's telling him, but I also notice everything's very quick. It's not a very long sentence. And the guy's talking to him. He's like, oh, I concentrated on calculus. And he goes, I think they concentrated on calculus last year. I concentrated on trigonometry. And then so he goes through the test. He pulls out the sheet and realizes it's calculus. So throughout the half of this thing, he's trying to copy off of this guy.
He's trying to figure out how to cheat. Yeah.
And I think the best one is when the guy flips over his paper.
He would blow on it.
He puts his head onto the table. And it's you gotta watch it. I know they're all on like Pluto TV and they're on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where we can talk about it, but you gotta see it sounds cool, but you gotta, unless you're picturing it in your head and you've seen it, it's gonna be a little off. And he's just like got his head like he's sleeping and he's blowing up the paper.
One of my absolute favorite ones is when he goes to the beach.
Oh yes.
And he gets down to the beach and he thinks he's all by himself, so he's getting ready to change into his beach clothes. But then he looks and there's this guy there, and he goes, oh man. So he's trying to stay out of that guy's eyesight and still change without getting completely naked to do so. And it's just really, really funny. And he goes through all this trouble, and when he finally does it, the guy gets up and you can tell that guy's blind. He looks up.
He puts it on over his pants and everything.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's very, very funny.
The first,
but that's the love of Mr. Bean, though. Yeah. It's just so incredible that I would credit Ernest movies and Mr. Bean as the two things that really formed my initial love of not only physical comedy but comedy itself.
Yeah, and just watching it. The birthday one's the best, where he writes himself his own card.
Yeah, or when he
surprised,
where he goes furniture shopping for a chair, despite the fact that he drives an incredibly small car, and he still buys a giant chair. And you've probably seen the picture of how he gets that thing home. It's incredible.
Or just the one where he gets the American Express card and he goes shopping.
Yeah,
and how he does that, like the whole trying on the towel. He preps it and then he accidentally drops it and he covers himself up, but then he gets his hand stuck in the guy's back pocket because it's the old classic swapping of the credit card type deal.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
tries to walk back and he gets his hand stuck and he literally has to go to the bathroom with the guy. The guy doesn't realize he's back there until he hands him a roll of toilet paper. Just how he goes shopping. He tries the toothbrush and then grabs a new one off the shelf. He has a fish in his pocket for the frying pan.
There's just so many great things. There's one where he tries to play mini golf and it goes terrible for him.
Did you
But he always plays it, man. He's always going to play that ball. He don't care where it goes.
did you enjoy the Bean movie?
I liked both of them. There's two of them. I've enjoyed them. I mean, because of these movies, anything that I can watch that he's in, I'll watch. He was also in Rat Race. He's in that movie Rat Race, and he's incredible in it. He's basically played Mr. Bean in the Rat Race.
He played in the second Hot Shots. Remember, he couldn't go anywhere because his shoes were tied.
You mean part two?
Yeah, part two. Couldn't go anywhere. They tied my shoes together.
That's a movie I really want to cover, by the way, is Hot Shots Part 2.
I think that's one of the sequels that are better than the original.
I agree completely. That's why I want to do it. But yeah, what was another thing he was in that I really liked?
He was
obviously Black Adder was really great.
Yeah.
But there's something else he was in later on. I can't remember what it was that I liked.
Oh, he was the hotel owner in Witches.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, Zazu in Lion King.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he was Zazu. Oh, he was Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah, he was in the Scooby-Doo movie. One of those. I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
the first one? I think it's the first one.
Yeah, he was the owner that ended up being
Scrappy.
Spoiler
alert.
He's got a new Netflix one called
It's very good.
Man versus Bee.
Yes, I've seen it. It's you can knock it out in a day. It's a season of it. There's multiple episodes, but I think there's only like 5 or 6, and each episode is under half an hour.
That sounds beautiful. But that's
but it's mainly physical comedy. So,
and that's what he's good at. He's good at like spoken comedy, but his physical comedy is.
Oh no! What's his other movies? Johnny Danger? No.
Oh, Johnny English.
Johnny English. I love those movies. He's done a couple of those. Those are really good and fun too.
He'll be in the upcoming Wonka movie as well. I still don't know who this Timothy Chalamet character.
He's been in. I know him from that newest Dune movie.
That's the only thing I know him from. I see him in commercials, and I'm like, who is that guy?
Yeah. That's how I feel anytime anybody today's trending on Twitter. Like, I don't know who this is. That's all. Man, I love Saturday Night Live, and I still watch it. But like, they'll have like musical guests. I'm like, I don't know who this is.
You know who else we're forgetting about Mr. Bean? That's a very crucial part. Is Teddy.
Yes. His beloved teddy bear.
Yeah.
This is a grown adult man. And this teddy bear is his heart and soul. The other one I remember too is when he goes to that hotel and he gets locked out naked. You remember that one?
He does a lot of that. Like the swimming one.
Yes.
When the kids push him off the high dive. I think the best part about the swimming one is I didn't realize, because I always remember you kind of always remember the big laugh until you go back and you watch it again.
Yeah.
It's when he first gets into the pool area. He sees these elephant slides that these kids are going down. So he's like, ooh, I'm gonna go on. The guy blows the whistle, and as he's going down, he's like trying to stop himself to go down this little tiny elephant slide because he wants to have fun.
Yeah. Oh man, just so many great stuff with Mr. Bean. But yeah, he's Rowan Atkinson's had a great career, and Mr. Bean, he owes a lot of it, and he knows to Mr. Bean and how big Mr. Bean. I don't think we're even doing enough justice for how huge Mr. Bean got at one point. I mean, he spawned his own cartoon.
Yeah.
He again, like I said, would do commercials and stuff.
I would almost put him in the best thing I could, like you said, Jim Varney.
Yeah.
But also very much, I'm a big Pee Wee Herman fan. I don't care what Paul Rubens did. That's different. But almost in that Pee Wee Herman child, not Pee Wee Herman was more spoken. Ernest was a little bit more spoken. But in that,
a man-child
thing, Ernest was more kind-hearted. Pee Wee was more kind-hearted.
I would say Mr. Bean, it's not that he's mean, he's just more self-involved with himself,
misguided and
because I don't think he's mean, because a lot of times he does mean well, like that one we talked about with his girlfriend. He thought in his mind he was like, she's gonna love this.
That's probably the one of the best ones is just with that whole thing. Or the movie theater. That's another great one of him being selfish, where he has this big tub of popcorn and she has the little tub and he's eating out of hers. And this is when, like I said, everything's short and sweet, and it makes it so much funny when he actually does speak. And she reaches in and he slaps her hand. He's like, "No, that's mine." And then he's trying to scare her throughout the whole entire thing, like in the beginning, because they're going to see a horror movie. He's like, "I'm not scared of anything," and he's like making like he cut off his hand and everything else. And then all of a sudden, the horror movie comes on, and he's scared of it more than she is. And he puts his sweater over his head and makes it look like he has no head because he doesn't want to see it. And is there during that whole entire thing?
Well, this also kind of proves Mr. Bean's a great example of this, that you have to be really smart to do incredibly stupid comedy. I know how weird that sounds, but it's true. I mean, like I said, I still remember the first interview I saw with Rowan Atkinson after really getting used to Mr. Bean, and I was just blown away by just how articulate he is, and just how not Mr. Bean he is. And the same thing happened to me with Jim Varney. Like Jim Varney, like knew he could quote Shakespeare. So, it's just wild that these characters are who they are. I mean, that still happens today. I hate to tell you guys this, but here's a little secret: Larry the Cable Guy. That's not who he is.
Yes, that's not who he is now. But that's the method to the madness, is to develop a character that can be beloved by all. Here we go with the rest. I'm going to do another wrestling reference. It's the same thing in wrestling. Develop a character that is going to, if you're going to become a good guy, that's going to be loved by all, that everybody can get or relate to or laugh at in some way, and you're going to have a hit every single time.
I mean, Mick Foley in wrestling, right? Like he does all that. He brings all the emotions there. But it also sort of saddens me in the fact that there's not a lot of physical comedy today. A lot of that is kind of gone. In fact, that it's so rare now that it stands out when it does happen. I know you're not the biggest Kevin James fan, and I get it, but I really do like that first Paul Blart movie.
I like that one.
It's got a lot of great physical comedy in it. It's just like a lost art form nowadays. It really makes me sad that there's just not near as much.
Jim Carrey's good at it too.
Jim Carrey's very good at it, but he's winding down his career too, right?
Yeah. I'm looking at like where Ranker has people.
Yeah.
And there's nobody new, but guys that we know: Charlie Chaplin, Lucille Ball was great with the physical.
Oh, yes.
Laurel and Hardy. I love a good Laurel and Hardy.
Three Stooges.
Yeah, Three Stooges on here. Dick Van Dyke, Michael Richards, because the Kramer character. John Ritter. Yeah, I think probably the last great one we're gonna see. Chris Farley's on here, but it's a lot of older people that we watch. Steve Martin, probably the Steve
Martin I would put on here. Chris Farley for sure. I would throw in Jaleel White with Urkel. Honestly, there's a lot of really good physical comedy there. It's just a lost art form in today's world in comedy, and it just makes me so sad because it has such a wild appeal, and if it's done right, it can be some of the funniest stuff you'll see.
I'm looking at it, and there's a lot of people. Johnny Knoxville, not so much. That's a
different thing. That's sort of like the Jackass stuff is way more trying to gross you out type humor, in my opinion. I've seen it, and some of it is funny, but I'm not like, I can't stand watching people vomit. It really messes me up.
Okay, here's a guy that I would actually say, like, man, Chris Collinsworth line there. Shit.
Here's a
guy. This comedian, I could see it, and they got him on this list, is Sebastian. I can't even say his name. Italian last name. Managasco does the doorbell thing. He is very, very animated.
I don't know who this is. I bet I have to see a picture.
You've never seen him?
I don't know. This name is not ringing any bells or doorbells.
He does the doorbell routine that 20 years ago we never. If the doorbell rang, we were like, "Hey, let's go run and see who it is." Now it's like, "Who's at my house?" Like, why is somebody here? It's great. He's very, very, very funny. But
you have to send me a picture of him so I'll know who you're talking about. I bet I've seen him.
See, Will Ferrell even too. I'm not like, he's not bad.
He doesn't, but his comedy is not just physical comedy. It's there is some physicality there, but like it's definitely not his main thing at all.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey doing The Mask and Ace Ventura, you laugh at the most.
Yeah, That's a lot of physical. I mean, that's a lot of physical comedy, especially in those early runs of Jim Carrey's career, for sure. I would have put him in this category 100,000%.
But I don't see too many other people that can just go out on stage and make you laugh just off of sheer just movement, animation, and everything else.
Which is just weird because I mean, just physical comedy, just it ages well, right? Like I mean, look at the first two Home Alone movies. You know what? They're classics, and why do people love those movies? Because the two burglars get their comeuppance in a very over the top physical comedic way.
Yeah, and what else? Like we mentioned, Ace Ventura, even Benny Hill, even though I wasn't supposed to watch it as a kid, but we all know how that is.
I don't think I know that guy, by the way. Andrew sent me a picture of that dude. I don't know.
You don't know who that is?
I don't think so.
That's why
it not look familiar to me.
They still show reruns of Three Stooges.
Yeah, Three Stooges still gets reruns. Who was the Abbott and Costello were also great.
Yep.
Man, there's just a lot of these that it's just a lost art form, and I don't understand why. Because again, like I said, it's when you're doing something, you want it to be able to last. And I mean, that's why Mr. Bean can have a long shelf time. It's just because new generations can discover it and it still work for them.
Yeah. And I think that's what you need. A lot of Monty Python guys are on here.
Yeah, see, that makes sense too. Like, that's the other comedy I really got to was The Holy Grail. That's one of my all-time favorite movies that I definitely want to cover on this show at some point. By the way, one of the greatest endings in all cinema is that movie, but where they just get arrested. Such a great ending.
Fatty Arbuckle's on here.
Yes.
There's
I mean, dadgum. We've covered him before. Who's another guy? Great physical comedy with his facial expressions. Barney Fife himself, right?
Yeah. Don
Knotts, yeah.
Mel Brooks. I don't know about. It's good to be the king. That's what happens when I'm at work and the younger kids ask the managers why they get to do certain things, and I always watch. I go watch it. I think it's History of the World or History of the World Part 2. I think it's History of the World Part 2. It's called, and I always say watch that, and I always recite that quote because it's good to be the king.
My favorite part of that is where he's like, I have here these 15 commandments, and he drops one of the tablets. 10 commandments.
I like it when the caveman walls, when they're drawing.
Yes.
The first critic comes by and the guy just looks at it and then pees on it. But getting back, physical comedy is something we definitely are getting away from, but it is so great. I think a lot of people sometimes we talk about, I think it's harder to make somebody laugh without speaking.
Yes.
Than it is speaking.
I mean, if you think about it too, I mean, we didn't even say Chevy Chase, but I would throw him in here too.
He's on there.
But it's just, I kind of think that a lot of it sort of, I wonder if you agree with this or not. I mean, we've had some afterwards, but I think a lot of it sort of died with Chris Farley when he passed away, because he was he was already becoming a name when he died, but he was well known for just throwing his body everywhere to make people laugh. And he was, man, just the career he could have had. That's legit one of the celebrities. I was such a big Chris Farley fan that I legit cried when that happened.
Yeah.
It was just so sad to me. But it sort of seems to me that after he passed away, that a lot of this physical comedy stuff sort of kind of went with him in a way. There's just not near as much today for sure as there used to be. Because I would argue, again, the 90s had it. Farley, Jim Carrey.
The 80s were Chevy Chase. You got John Belushi.
Yeah.
You had all those. Martin Short.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
Physical. I mean, that's a great movie that I never hear too many people talk about is The Three Amigos. Because
I love The Three Amigos. Yes.
Chevy Chase.
Let's cover that one day too. Like, write all these movies down we're going to cover. I want an excuse to watch that movie again.
Oh, I love Three Amigos.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I would love to watch it again. But yeah, just physical comedy in itself is a dying art form, and it just really makes me sad. But I don't think it's really truly dying. It's just that nobody's kind of really came along and sort of taken the reins of it and really ran with it and caught mainstream because of it.
Might be a little bit harder to do than.
It is, honestly. Yeah.
And maybe
when I was
F-bombs and calling it a day.
Yeah, I'm not against cussing, obviously, but it does feel like today that a lot of your comedies think that that's what makes something funny is if you just cuss a lot. But you got to make it I like what Mick Foley said. Again, we always bring it back to wrestling, but I
Yeah.
like what Mick Foley says about cussing when it comes to dropping F-bombs and stuff, especially. The less you drop, the more they mean.
That is true.
Yeah.
That
So
is 100% true.
but,
That's
yeah. Speaking of dropping,
what?
that's one of the things that when I was younger, again in my 20s, when I was trying to figure out, I'm acting like I'm a big time comedian, but when I was trying to figure out my voice, quote unquote, when it comes to comedy, I did a lot of physical comedy in front of my friends to make them laugh. Like I would always do this thing when we go to movies in a big group. You know, you got to go across the aisle to get to your seat. I would always fall on purpose all the time, and I mean hard fall. And I pay for that now with the way my body does not like to move anymore. That's the thing I was going to say to end this with. Rowan Atkinson himself has sadly said that the Mr. Bean character is obviously slowly going to go away because he's getting older and he just can't do this stuff anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of him falling or do the crazy things like in the swimming one when he's on the high dive and he just kind of like balls himself up and then just lets his body kind of just fall to the side. Or the church one is the best.
I do love that. If you haven't seen Rowan Atkinson live, I really encourage you. I'm going to finish watching it after this. I really encourage everyone to look it up on YouTube. It's well worth an hour of your time to see.
Oh yeah. Anything Rowan Atkins, Mr. Bean, anything. And I don't think one of the reasons why I was asked about the movie is I don't think the movies do enough justice as the TV show does.
Definitely watch the TV show first. If this is your introduction to Mr. Bean, watch the TV show first because it's also broken down really well. Like you can actually watch it in segments and be just fine. So highly recommend those first to get the essence of Mr. Bean. The movies are a good complement to it, but they are not the main course for sure.
No.
But it is really funny where he tries to fix that painting.
that is good. That is good. And it's funny, he talks about a Mr. Bean holiday with the bike ride.
Yes. Yeah.
He said they shot that so much that he was just tired at the end and he had to go take a nap because of how he passes them.
And then I would throw in watch Rat Race because he's fantastic in it.
Rat Race. What else? Yeah. But he is absolutely amazing in every aspect that he does.
Yeah, perhaps we can make him into a handsome throw rug.
Yes.
As he says on Lion King.
But also, Johnny, so if you like Mr. Bean and then you also like us as well, you could always go support us on Patreon for only $1 a month and get exclusive content on there as well.
What kind of content is it besides exclusive, obviously?
It's a great audio skit.
Oh, man.
As we just got done talking about how great physical comedy is. Me and Johnny do not live very close together, so we cannot do physical comedy skits.
I would argue we have the most physical of the audio comedy, though.
I would have to say, I do my best. I do my best.
You'll never get a better audio version of physical comedy than these skits. I promise you.
Johnny does a great job of narrating what things are going.
And I make my own sound effects.
Yes.
So don't you worry.
But they are great. They are great. We've heard nothing but great things from our Patreon skits. And if you want to hear them, because they're only exclusive to Patreon, go to Patreon, Nostalgia Funhouse, the Nostalgia Funhouse, and become a Patreon supporter.
How much does it cost, Andrew? I bet it's a lot.
Well, it was $20, but I can give it to you for the rest of the time being for a low price of $1 a month.
Wow, just $1? That's like a $19 savings a month.
That is correct. And it is only $1. No ship. I'm gonna even cover the shipping and handling for you.
Whoa.
That's just how nice of a guy I am.
You're insane.
I had to go. I'm a big fan of infomercials. That's a great show idea that we need to do also.
Write that down. Our shows are just us getting ideas for other shows.
And that is not a problem. I kind of like it.
Yeah, we'll do infomercials at some point. We just recorded some really fun skits about what were those things called where you get a job somewhere?
Training
videos. So make sure you check those out. For just $1, you get all kinds. If you join now for just $1, you're getting a lot of exclusive content that's already on there.
Yes, a lot.
And we need to be able to afford the Ghost of Mr. Chicken. That's our goal.
So we can see the physical comedy.
Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of good physical comedy there. And I would love to see it again because I can't currently due to cost. And also, I would love to make money from this. And until we make enough, I don't feel comfortable asking Andrew for my split.
I've taken any out yet.
Yeah, we're gonna let it build up.
Yeah.
We'll hit $10 soon, and we'll be very happy about it.
But also, if you want to support us too, check out our Facebook page. Great content there as well. And also our YouTube channel as well with Let's Plays. And plan on doing a couple of review videos, maybe.
Yes.
About
And
some
we're going to
other
be
stuff.
doing some live streams on our
Yes.
Facebook, which will be put on our YouTube as well. That's going to be starting soon. I think maybe in the next couple weeks even. So just stay tuned for that. We really do appreciate all the support we've already gotten. You guys and gals and people are just incredible. And it really means a lot to Andrew and I.
Yes, that people actually listen to us. That is probably the greatest feeling of them all.
Yeah.
But I guess with that being said, Johnny, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
And a big shout out to Pizza Hut for sponsoring this video.